Well, thank you for joining today. We'll be having a discussion about Vuforia Choc and Vuforia Studio. So just a quick intro into Elite. We are Elite Aerospace Group, and we are part of the Elite Aerospace Group, and the segment that we're talking with today is the engineering services. So we are the part that works on everything PTC. So as you can see, we support PTC products, MathCAD, ThingWorx, Windchill, Creo, and Vuforia, and we can help with solution architecture, consulting, the technical aspects of it. Things are specific to CAD, model-based definition, methodology, whatever it is that you need help with PTC products, PLM, CAD, IoT, AR, we are here to help. We are a manufacturing company as well, so actually as I'll back up a slide, as you can see, part of our company is the aviation products, and they are in fact a manufacturer mostly in aerospace, and so we use the PTC products ourselves in our factory. So our models are managed by Windchill, for example, and going forward we'll be using Vuforia to show how we use augmented reality in the factory as well. So that's a little bit about us. I like to try to keep it brief. Also want to just let you know that the next webinar that we'll be doing, which is 2 weeks out, we'll be talking about how MathCAD and Creo can be used together. So you can integrate those two to make 1 + 1 = 3, although I'm pretty sure MathCAD would give me a different answer. The next webinar after that will be on Creo simulation, and so both of those you can sign up from our website. Links are here, and I'll email that out as well. And we're always happy to host whatever webinars you're interested in. So feel free to contact me if you have any specific topics that you'd like to learn more about. So that's all I'll say about Elite. That being said, I will pass over control of the meeting to Colleen, who is working at the Virtual Center of Excellence at PTC, and will introduce us to Vuforia.
So hi, everybody. Stuart, I just want to check that you can hear me.
Yes, I can.
Excellent. So hi, everybody. Yes, as Stuart said, my name is Colleen. I work at PTC's Virtual Center of Excellence, and I'm here to give you a brief introduction into both Vuforia Choc and Vuforia Studio. So we're going to start off by talking about Choc, and both with a quick PowerPoint, and then Cody will be my nice assistant and will help me demo Choc. And then after that, I'm going to move us into Studio, where it'll be the same thing. We'll have a little bit of PowerPoint and a demo as well. All right, so to get started, Vuforia Choc is a mobile collaboration tool that combines the powerful AR technology with real-time video to provide you the ultimate solution for remote assistance. So it's going to allow your technicians who are out in the field to make a quick call to some expert so they can instantly connect and collaborate with them. So the expert will be able to hear, see, and annotate in that technician's space. So some challenges that we see companies face include that it's hard to recruit and train new technicians. You have aging, experienced technicians with knowledge who are retiring, and newer technicians struggle to learn with traditional documentation like manuals. So there's an employee skill gap between the new and experienced technicians that's really difficult to fill. And the specialized experts are dispersed and need to travel to solve any unusual problems. Sometimes you need multiple technicians required on sites as well. This could be so an expert could supervise and check the quality of any new technician's work. This could be just for the quality confirmation or for new experts to shadow the experts. You also sometimes might need repeat visits or multiple visits to fix one problem. And that means high technician travel costs. That means poor technician efficiency, high equipment downtime. And then if you don't get that first time fix, you're going to have poor customer satisfaction and have to just keep sending out technicians. It's a lot of budget being wasted on those multiple visits, and then the customer's just not happy. And the products are getting more and more complex. That means service and maintenance is increasingly difficult, and it's difficult to give accurate phone advice without seeing what the person in the field is seeing. So just in general, having to train and recruit new technicians with the standard manuals it's just getting harder and harder with complex issues and any products getting more difficult and more diverse. So Vuforia Choc is the groundbreaking new enterprise solution that allows one employee to effectively instruct another from a remote location. So that means that your expert could be sitting at home eating breakfast in his pajamas, and he's able to answer that technician's call and really give him a helping hand right then and there. So what you're able to do with Choc is you're able to interact with the environment. So you're not drawing on a 2D screen, and whatever you draw stays there. Any annotations you make are actually going to grab the geometry in 3D space and stay there no matter what you're looking at. And you'll be able to see that when Cody and I do the demo. So you're going to be able to move to different views. The technician can even put down his device, do a couple of small steps, pull it back up, and the expert and him can get right back in the swing of the conversation. All you're doing to make any of those annotations is just drawing with your finger. You don't need any training or learn anything fancy in order to use Choc. You're just going to draw any annotations you'd like with your finger. And the expert even has the capability to pause the view, so he can write more instructions while the technician moves around his camera to look at anything he'd like. A little bit more about the capabilities of Choc is that it's a human-centric tool. That means it's not some video that you watch that's some standard set of instructions it's already done. It's human-centric. It's going to be based on what that technician is seeing. You also have unlimited calls within your business, so if you end a call with an expert and realize you have one last question, you can go ahead and call them back. It's also on an easy, accessible app just on your phone or tablet for you to open. And it's also compatible with both iOS and Android. So you have a lot of control within your own work group to go ahead and add and delete users. So you can open up your contacts and be able to see anybody on your work group. You also have a lot of control on this work group. You're able to see a lot of analytics to see who and when people are using Choc. And then you have a lot of administration support as well, help you delete users, help you see any emails, who's on your group as well. And then there's also the single sign-abilities where you can use the same password as your company passwords. So just in general, this slide is talking about the administration support, which gives you a lot of analytics to see how often and who is using Choc, as well as a lot of control about seeing into who is using it. With that, Cody and I will move into our demonstration. So what I'm going to do is I have an iPad and Cody also has an iPad. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mirror my screen and I'm going to be the technician who needs a little help from Cody. So if you go ahead and give us a moment here to set up. So I'm going to open up my Choc app and then I'm going to walk over to our demonstrating motor. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and call Andrew, who is Cody, and then we'll go ahead and mute, and then I'll be able to share what I'm seeing with Cody. So hi, Cody. Thanks for answering my call. I'm having trouble getting the motor up and running. I'm hoping you could help me out here.
Yeah, so right now it looks like...
Oh, maybe I just have to give you another call here.
Oh, try. I was going to say, it doesn't seem to be coming through to me.
Sometimes our internet doesn't like calls the first time. All right, I think it's working this time. Okay, can you see what I see?
No, it took me back to the contact screen.
All right, one more time. And we can try different. How about now, Cody? Can you see?
It appears that it keeps wanting to kick me from the call. Maybe I should try something.
All right. Well, yep. Sorry, guys. It's a live demo. Let us try one other thing, and then I can. Thank you for waiting.
All right, there we go. Now I can see your
All
screen.
right, now we can see. Thanks, everybody, for waiting. Okay. Live demo. We'll have to see what's wrong with Andrew's later. Okay, great. So thanks for answering my call, Cody. Do you think you could help me figure out what's going wrong with the motor?
Yeah, sure. So it looks like you have it plugged in down here, which is good. So go ahead and just start by flipping on this switch here.
Great. All right. So that did seem to light up, but nothing is showing up on the monitor. How would I get something to show up there?
Okay. Well, if you have an HDMI cord, yep, we can see that here. Go ahead and take this and plug it in here to the HDMI port.
All right, we'll give that a second. And it looks like something is popping up on the monitor here.
Great.
We'll come back to that. Okay, great. Okay, so how would I get the motor to actually turn on?
Right. So if you press this green button here, you should be able to go ahead and turn the motor on.
That doesn't seem to be working.
Well, the emergency stop might be on. Go ahead and turn the emergency stop this direction.
All right. Okay, so it did pop out. I'll try the green button again. Great. Okay. So it seems like that's working great now. Okay, now how would I get the solenoids to turn on?
Well, this left-hand yellow button at the bottom here turns on the left-hand solenoid. And if you take the right-hand one, it actually goes to both solenoids. So you can choose kind of how you want to turn that on yourself.
Okay, I'll give that a try. All right, fantastic. So it seems like the monitor is up and running, and you helped me get the motor on and work the solenoids. So that's perfect. So thanks, Cody. So that was the little role playing that we had there. But just to point out a couple things about Choc is that you see that Cody is able to draw in yellow, and I'm drawing in pink. So we can change the colors we're drawing on. Say if I was drawing on white and ended up having to circle the solenoids down here, we can see that that doesn't really stand out against the background. So I can always change the color I'm drawing on to make it stand out better. We can also see that when I pan back and forth, arrows pop up to show that there's annotations to my left. So I can go ahead and scroll back and see those annotations. So if we made an annotation over here and turned back, we'll be able to see that, that there will be an arrow pointing me back there. Fantastic. Okay, and then you also saw that I was able to erase any old marks, so I can go ahead and take off all of the green. And then another thing is that both I have the power to turn on my flash from within Choc, and so does Cody. Cody can also turn off and on my flash. Another thing that was just recently added is a low bandwidth mode, which instead of sending through live video feed, sends through high resolution photos for us to use. Okay, and with that, that is the Choc demonstration. Again, you're making these annotations that are stuck in 3D space and don't move with the screen when you move it. They are actually, and this is really cool, if I go from a side view, they're actually in 3D space, not from just the one direction, but from any. So the technician who has to call the expert can have the expert draw anything. The technician could put down the iPad, pull it back up, and start again from the beginning. Okay, so that is the Choc. I have one more slide to wrap it up here for Choc, and then we can answer any questions and move on to Studio. So when I end the call, we're able to see that there's a list of photographs here. What these are is it is screenshots of the call that Cody and I had. So you're able to export all these photos as like an album and save them to come back and look later as a record not only of what the technician and expert did, but they can go back and maybe learn from any of these screenshots or take a second look if they need a refresher about what the call is about. All right, so I'll go ahead and stop mirroring my iPad here. All right, and then just one more slide to wrap it up to give some more value points about Choc is that it can really reduce your service costs if you're going to get a better first-time fix, and if you're going to be able to send out less technicians to fix the problem, if instead of sending out that expert, you can use Choc instead. It's going to really accelerate your training technicians, especially if they're learning from a platform that they're used to. Using their phone and tablets is very easy for newer, younger technicians. They can learn better on a platform they're used to. Can also improve the service quality by getting that first-time fix. And if you get that first-time fix, it's also going to increase your customer satisfaction. All right, with that, I have a point about administration here, but we did go over a lot about how much control you have when in your administration site, where you can go ahead and add and delete users and then see any sort of statistics that you'd like, including active users, number of calls, top Chockers, and company call log. All right, so I'll leave it up here on this slide for us, and this is a good point. If anyone has any questions about Choc, I'd be happy to answer them now.
If you do have a question, you can either unmute yourself or feel free to type it into the chat session to either myself or Colleen. All right, I don't see any questions coming in, so let's go ahead and we'll move on to Vuforia Studio. But if there are any questions, feel free to put them in the chat session. We'll come back to them as well.
Excellent. All right, so I'll go ahead and move us into Studio. So I'm going to start off by showing us a completed Studio experience that shows a couple different ways that you can use Vuforia Studio. Then I will go into some PowerPoint slides, and then we'll wrap it up with a demo showing you what Studio actually looks like. Okay, so I'm going to mirror my iPad again. All righty. This time, instead of opening Choc, I'm going to open up Vuforia View, which is this app here. So Vuforia View is what you use to view studio experiences. So it's what you're going to have. You can download it for free right now on your phone or tablet. And I do highly recommend you do that because there are a lot of free experiences that you can check out and experiment with yourself. So all you have to do is go to the App Store, type in Vuforia View, and then you can have fun with it yourself. And again, it is free. But this is the app on your phone or tablet that you're going to use to see any of the experiences you make in Studio. So we're going to start off by looking at a bobcat here. So we'll give this a second to load up. And we see right away that we have some gauges with changing values on them. So that's IoT or Internet of Things data coming in. So that could be sensors on a real-life bobcat coming in, giving us the battery level, the oil level, the temperature, gas level, etc. We also see that not only do we have a bobcat, but we have some background information like a guy for scale and some cinder blocks. So you guys are seeing the background of my desk. This is, you know, if we scroll over, we'll be able to see my notebook and my mouse pad here. But there's the bobcat just sitting on my desk, and we do have some background material as well. So the IoT data can be used in a couple different ways. And again, those are those gauges coming up with real-time data. So that can be used in an operation side while you're manufacturing something. You can see how your equipment is performing in real time, or it can be for any service technician if they go out in the field, want to see what the sensors are reading off of that machine. You can go ahead and pull up the experience and have those real-time data points showing up. So let's go ahead. We have a nice dashboard here showing us the connected data. We can go ahead and turn those off for right now. The next thing that we're going to talk about is AR instructions. This is really important for the service use case. If you send somebody out with an experience like this, instead of bringing out a whole manual, they can just bring this experience and then have instructions pull up. And for this case, we do show changing out this bucket with a bale fork. So I'll go ahead and move in a little closer here. So we see these red arrows flashing. We see the yellow levers as well flashing. So it's telling us that these levers need to be moved, while also at the bottom reading out the instructions telling us what to do. So we'll go ahead and walk through these animation steps. And these instructions can get as detailed as you'd like. We can spend a whole minute taking out a screw. We can zoom in, change something on the cab. You can get as detailed as you'd like, as detailed as the CAD gets with these instructions. So we went ahead and brought in the bale fork instead. All right. And then the last section of this experience is the parts info. So I really like this part here, because this shows that you can individually click on different parts of this, and it'll highlight green for us here. So how you can use this is you can have parts and order numbers come up along with this. You can have somebody, if they want more information about a certain part, click on it and have a pop-up show giving you different information, maybe about where it was manufactured or any other details like that. Okay, so those were a couple of things about this Bobcat here that we had to show. So great, okay. So again, this is all on Vuforia View, which is the app that you can download for free right now, and that's what we use to view any experience that we make in Studio. Okay. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and move us into the PowerPoint. Okay. So Vuforia Studio, this is the tool that you can use to make augmented reality experiences. So we have both Choc and Studio both use AR, but in completely different ways. We saw that Choc made annotations that stuck in 3D space, while Studio makes a predefined experience that was able to show any sort of animation that you have with any CAD you have, as well as bringing up any instructions, pop-ups, PDFs, anything like that. So there's 4 main use cases that we see for Studio. We have the first one here, which is marketing and selling, and that's the one that might first come to mind. That's putting that Bobcat in front of a potential customer, letting them see how it works, letting them see the different attachments like the bale fork and the button bucket, and then maybe letting them see it full scale if you'd like. So again, this can really help visualize, have the customer visualize the product to accelerate sales, and then you can also increase your brand loyalty by giving the customer something to take home with them to view an experience on their phone. Next way that we see Vuforia Studio really being used is in the 3D design meeting, or when you're creating a product. So instead of having 2D screenshots of a 3D product that you're making, you can use Vuforia Studio instead and have a more meaningful conversation about where you want to take the product by moving around the product, taking a look at it from different angles. So it can really help with the virtual design collaboration. You can connect different teams, have them come together to meet about where you want to take the product. Again, really a good idea of your prototype, and have a more meaningful conversation to reduce the amount of rework. And then you can also speed up your time to market by making sure those conversations happen early and happen meaningfully. The next one here is operations. So this is the one where we have that real-time IoT data coming in, so you can see how your manufacturing line is performing. And if that operator is more informed, that can really reduce the defects. It can really provide insight also if that operator is able to see how their machines are performing in real time. And that animation that we saw with that bucket coming out and the bale fork coming in, if you have those real-time work instructions for operators, they won't have to go searching through manuals to find out, okay, how do I do this process? They can have the device right next to them. They won't have to guess what the next step is. It'll be right there for them. We also have service is our last use case here. So that's the one that really uses the animation. So again, if you send a service technician out to a customer site, they can take the experience with them to help them change that bucket out for a forklift or change a tire or anything else you'd like to do. So you do have those service dashboards instructions. The customer self-service, if you want to send a customer the experience straight to the customer, and also the remote expertise, which can reduce travel and training costs. Okay, so with that, we'll go ahead on to the next slide. And this is some of the challenges that we see companies face when making AR experiences. So usually when you make an AR experience, it's for one unique purpose. So you're going to spend a lot of time making one app, and it's just going to be used for that purpose and not to be reused or edited later. So that makes it difficult to author AR apps because you're going to have to get the software engineers, get the IT staff to go ahead and do all of the coding that's involved to make this one particular AR experience. And then that makes it costly to develop, implement, and maintain any of these AR experiences, not only because you need the staff, but if you end up making more than one, it'll just be more time and money to implement them all. So the solution that we came up with, which eliminates the need for all of that coding, and you can reuse a lot of the materials you already have. So what we do is here, we'll start with Vuforia View, and that is the app that I just had up on my iPad that I was nearing to my screen. So that's what we use to view any experiences that were made in Studio. So Studio is where you're going to author the experiences. That means that you're going to bring in any sort of 3D CAD you already have made of your product. You're going to bring it in. You're going to add any labels or buttons or images that you'd like to have. And all of these are done with a lot of pre-designed widgets, which we'll be able to see. So it's saving a lot of the base work for you. You're using a widget that already knows what a gauge is. You can just tell it what it's sensing temperature or whatever you'd like. Then what you're going to do is you're going to publish it to the experience server, which can then be pulled down later in Vuforia View to go ahead and look at it. So with that, I'll go ahead and walk us through the process of actually making an AR experience. All right. So with that, we go ahead and start a new one, and we're going to make it very similar to the Bobcat that we saw earlier. Okay. So what I'm picking here is I'm going to make it for a mobile experience. So that means on the tablet or phone. You could also pick if you want it to be 3D eyewear. That's something like a HoloLens, or 2D eyewear, and that's something like View 6 glasses. We're going to go ahead and make sure it's AR, which means it's 3D and not a 2D experience. Okay, so when I go ahead and create a new experience, I'll go ahead and give us a walkthrough of everything we see here. So starting off on the left, this is where we'll have everything that we're going to bring into the experience. So we do, at the top here, we do have some settings that we can change, dark or light theme if we'd like. We do have more details about the experience. We see my title. We see that if I do want to attach it to a thing mark, I can go ahead and put in the serial code that each thing mark has. And the thing mark, that is that QR code. That is, if we remember from the beginning when I brought up the Bobcat that I scanned the hexagon shape, that is the QR code. Each QR code has its own serial number. So if I wanted to attach it to a thing mark, I could put that there. You do not have to attach it to a thing mark. We have different options now. You no longer have to use your QR code at all if you don't want to. Okay, a little bit more about the info for Studio here. This is the server. This is what I'm publishing to be brought down later. And here's any code that you'd like, a QR code that you can use to pull up the experience. We also can change the access here. We can make it public for anyone to see, or you can leave it that it requires authentication. So if you wanted someone to need a password to open up the experience, you can absolutely have that, but we'll just leave it public for right now. And then here, this is something that I really like, is that you can allow for downloading to view offline. So that means if you're sending someone out to check on any piece of equipment and you know that they won't have internet access, you can have them download the experience beforehand so they can pull up any instructions or PDFs or images while they're in a spot that doesn't have any internet. Here, this is all of the widgets that I was discussing before. So this means that all the base work has been done for you. Here with these 3D gauges, 3D images, labels, and models. So all you have to do is pull them in, and then properties are going to pop up here, or settings for you to change. That would be where you'd bring in the image that you'd like to use. That would be what you'd want that label to say. So all of that base work is done for you, and you're just dragging it onto the canvas and then changing the settings for it. Up here in the targets, this is where you can pick. If you'd like to have the QR code, that's the thing mark, that's right here, no problem. But if you'd rather not have a QR code involved at all, you can use a spatial or a model target. A spatial target, what that does is that your camera on your phone or your tablet is actually going to find a horizontal surface and place your experience based on that surface. So that could be the floor or the table. And what you'll do is with your finger actually place on the screen where you want your experience to begin. The model target, that's going to, what that does is that it finds the 3D geometry of your CAD model and brings up the experience when it finds that 3D geometry. Okay. So with that, first I'll show you all the 2D widgets that are available. So this is where those step instructions were in bright red. So we can absolutely bring in anything like that. We have text areas, we have toggle buttons, we have a Choc button, which allows you to launch the Choc app straight from an experience, which I also think is really cool. So we can have 3D labels, we can have videos. So you have a lot of options. And again, all that base work is done for you. You're just dragging them onto the 2D space here and then formatting them in the properties. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and bring in a model widget here. And what this is a container for any 3D CAD you want to bring in. So let's go ahead and bring in the Bobcat here. So we're going to go ahead and find the Bobcat. Alrighty. And what we can do is we can run the CAD optimizer here. And what that will do is it'll give you 3 different resolutions of this Bobcat. So it'll give you a low, medium, and high resolution. And what that does is it really strips out a lot of the CAD necessary data or information like dimensions and constraints. It gets rid of those. So you're just left with the 3D shell of the model that you're working with. And what that does is it really lightens up the model so that the end user viewing the experience can view it, so it can download faster or upload faster for them to view. So we'll go ahead and put our Bobcat into this model widget that we brought in, and we're able to see the Bobcat come in. Okay, so we could be done right here. We could publish and have a Bobcat sitting on our desk. But we're going to go ahead and take it a step further here. And we're going to go ahead and animate it. So how we animate it is that we use a tool called Creo Illustrate. So that animation that we saw done with the Bobcat, that was done using Creo Illustrate, where we had that bucket pull off and the bale fork come back in. So let's go ahead and bring in my Bobcat into here, so we could go ahead and do that same thing where we're going to go ahead and pull out that bucket and bring in the bale fork. So I'm just going to go ahead here and set up the step-by-step editor within here. So we're just setting it up to bring in the model into Illustrate. And again, this is the tool that you can use. We can get down into the nitty-gritty into each bolt if we'd like. All right. So here we see we have the Bobcat brought in to Creo Illustrate for us here. Let's go ahead and start off a sequence. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and, like we had before, I'm going to pull out everything with this bucket. And I could do it either by selecting here on my image, or I can use my SBOM here to select everything that I'd like. So let's go ahead and select everything on this bucket. All right, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my transform axis to go ahead and pull this out. So if I wanted to, I could do hard set dimensions and give it exactly how far out I want it to be, but I think that just pulling it out is good for now. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some effects to this. So we still have my bucket clicked on. Now what I'm going to do is use one of the pre-built-in effects. So we see we have a lot of different options here. Can have something fly in, fade out, etc. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and just fade out the bucket just like we had that animation. Great. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and bring in the bale fork now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in a new step for this. I'll go ahead and find where my bale fork is in my SBOM structure, and then I'm going to go ahead and make sure I'm selected on this second step. I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to fade it in this time, and then I'm going to go ahead and drag it into place. Just eyeball it up here. Okay, let's go ahead and preview our sequence here so we can see what it looks like. Again, you could spend as much time as you'd like selecting each screw, taking apart a wheel, doing whatever you want. We'll just keep it simple for right now. But this is a great tool that you can use to animate any CAD that you have. Again, it gives you the full control to select anything in the SBOM you'd like. You have a lot of different pre-built effects that you can use. So we see that that bucket comes out, fades away, and then if I click for the next step, that forklift fades in and pulls in. Excellent. So with that, we can go ahead and publish off this file. And what it'll do is it'll publish it to a PVZ. And that PVZ, what that is it's the CAD and the animation that I just made all tied into one. And what that means is that it's going to be about 5% of the original CAD file. And Studio is going to know that there's animation tied to that. So with that, we'll go ahead back into Studio, and let's go ahead and add in the Bobcat with the animation. Okay. Okay, so now what we're going to do is all I have to do to get the one with animation is we're going to switch it out to be that one. As easy as that, we just add it in as a resource, put it in the same place as where we brought in that original model container. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that it looks okay here. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to make sure that my figure here is selected, is I'm going to add in a button so we can actually see the animation. So what I'm going to use as a play button is a toggle button. And again, it's one of these pre-built-in widgets that all I have to do is drag it in. Okay. And then I have a lot of options about what I would like this button to look like. So I'm going to go ahead and pick the standard play button here. And what you can do is you can add in any, and I do this quite frequently, is I Google any sort of image I'd like. I've brought in an eyeball shape, different sort of gauges. So anything off of Google, you can go ahead and upload into Studio to use as custom buttons if you'd like. Okay, here's where you see we can change the background color of the button. We can change the width and height of the button. So all I did was drag on that pre-built toggle button and then change some settings in here. Okay, with that, I'm going to attach it to my model by just saying that when I click this button, I want it to do something to the model. And then Studio already knows that there's animation here, and it knows the options that I want to pick from. So I'm just going to say play all. Fantastic. Okay, and then I'll go ahead and also add in a label. And we'll just go ahead and make a quick warning. And we'll say make sure that the machine is off before performing maintenance. I spelled everything right. Okay, and then with that, let's go ahead back to 3D here. And what we could do is we can add in a 3D gauge here. So we see that it comes right up top. I can go ahead and use these transform axes that look very similar to what they did in Illustrate. I can go ahead and make it a little bigger. I'll go ahead and give it a scale of 3. And same thing, I can hard set the dimensions about where I'd like this gauge to go, but I can go ahead and just eyeball it in there towards the middle for right now. Okay, then what I'm also going to do is I'm going to go ahead and attach it to some IoT data that we have set up here. So if you'll just give me 1 second here, and we can go ahead and bring in the gas level. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and say that I want the gas level to be the text of this. All right, and with that, let's go ahead and preview this experience that we made. So again, we just used some of the pre-built in widgets that were already here. I'm going to go ahead and if we look here, we can see a whole bunch of options about what I want this to look like. So we'll go ahead and max the screen. Okay, so with that, and we do see that the gas level is very much, I should have brought in a different number. But we see that our animation that we made in Illustrate does have that bucket come out and brings the forklift back in. And we see our warnings popped up here. So just in a couple minutes, we were able to go ahead and make an animation and then go ahead and play through those steps. Fantastic. Okay, and so with that, that was how you can go about doing making a studio experience that then you can go ahead and publish off and then be able to pull down and view on Vuforia View, which is what we did in the beginning to look at the Bobcat. Okay, so from here, I'll go ahead and pause and open it up for questions again.
While we wait to see if there's any questions about Vuforia Studio, there was a question about Vuforia Choc, which was regarding the devices that it works on. It is currently supported on tablets and smartphones, and a desktop version is in development as we speak. So in a soon-to-be-released version, it will be possible to use Vuforia Choc from a desktop as well, so that you can support from a service aspect. Someone could call you from the field and you could answer on your computer.
Yeah, and to continue on with that, so it is iOS 11 or better, and then it does work with Android devices, including Samsung and Google Pixel, and they are adding devices every month as well, and the desktop version is to be out very soon.
So question, how are files handled for companies that have proprietary information that cannot be uploaded to the cloud? Well, first aspect of that is that the benefit of using Studio is that you're creating a PVZ file as opposed to the native CAD. So it at least partially helps with the IP because you're not using the actual CAD data, and that can be shared without a risk of sharing the actual IP. As far as sharing the data itself, it's probably going to come down to company policies. But I guess the question probably is related to, is it possible to publish and secure who is able to access it? And if that's the nature of the question, you can control who has access with a secure link. So I hope I answered the question. Looks like it. Good.
Right, and just to continue on with that, the PVZ file that we are using actually in the AR experiences does cut out a lot of that intellectual property. You know, of course, it's still going to look like your CAD, like we see here with this Bobcat, but there you can't get dimensions from it or anything like that.
All right. Are there any other questions? Okay, well, thank you very much, Colleen. I think you did a great job of showing us both Vuforia Choc and Vuforia Studio. I think we can see some great uses for augmented reality and the examples you showed today. So we appreciate that.
Thanks for listening in, everybody.
All right, well, our next webinar will be on MathCAD, and then we have another one coming up on Creo Simulate. And again, feel free to contact us at Elite if you have any questions, want to see anything else, or learn anything else about PTC products. All right, well, thank you, and have a nice day.